Hey, I'm in a pretty tough situation right now, and I'm not sure if I'm being unreasonable. I'm a 32-year-old male, and I have a brother, Matt, who is 30. Matt recently got married to my ex-girlfriend, Sarah, who is 29. This is a story that's been building up for a while, and I'm not really sure how to feel about everything. I'd love some outside opinions to help me sort through this mess. To give you some background, Sarah and I dated for about 4 years. We met in college, and I thought she was the love of my life. We were inseparable, and we even started talking about getting engaged. I was head over heels for her, and everyone in my family seemed to like her too, including Matt. He and I have always been pretty close while we were before all of this happened. Matt was my best friend growing up. We did everything together, and I thought I could trust him with anything. But things started to change about 2 years ago. Sarah began acting distant, and I couldn't put my finger on why. She was always working late or out with friends, and our relationship became strained. I tried to talk to her about it, but she always brushed it off, saying I was being paranoid or overthinking things. I started to feel like I was losing her, and I didn't know what to do. Then one day, I came home early from work to find Sarah and Matt together in our apartment. At first, it didn't seem like a big deal. They were just sitting on the couch. But something about the way they jumped up when I walked and set off alarm bells. I asked them what was going on, and they both got defensive, saying I was being ridiculous. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. A few weeks later, my worst fears were confirmed. I found text messages on Sarah's phone between her and Matt that left no room for doubt. They'd been seeing each other behind my back for months. I was devastated. I confronted them both, and they didn't even try to deny it. Sarah said that she had fallen out of love with me, and that she and Matt had a connection she couldn't ignore. Matt, on the other hand, tried to justify it by saying that he and Sarah hadn't planned for it to happen, but that it just did. I felt completely betrayed. Not only had I lost my girlfriend, but my own brother had been sneaking around with her behind my back. Needless to say, our family was shocked when everything came to light. My parents were furious with Matt, and for a while it felt like the family was completely broken. I cut off all contact with both Matt and Sarah. I couldn't stand the thought of seeing them together, let alone being in the same room. I moved out of town for a while, got a new job, and tried to move on with my life. It wasn't easy, but I felt like it was the only thing I could do to keep my sanity. Fast forward to a year later, and I hear through the grapevine that Matt and Sarah are engaged. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I knew they were together, but marriage? It felt like a slap in the face. I refused to attend the wedding and told my parents that I didn't want anything to do with it. They were supportive of my decision, but I could tell they were heartbroken over the rift in the family. My mom kept saying she hoped we could work things out eventually, but I wasn't interested. As far as I was concerned, Matt and Sarah were dead to me. A few months after their wedding, I got a call from Matt. It was the first time we had spoken since the whole ordeal. He said he wanted to meet up and talk. I was reluctant, but after some persuasion from my parents, I agreed. When we met, he seemed genuinely remorseful. He apologized profusely for what had happened and said he wished things had gone differently. He told me that Sarah was pregnant and that they were expecting their first child. He said he wanted his child to know their uncle and that he hoped we could find a way to move past what happened. I was stunned. On one hand, I appreciated the apology, but on the other hand, I couldn't believe the nerve he had to ask me to just move on after everything. I told him that I was happy for him and Sarah, but that I wasn't sure I could ever forgive them for what they did. I said that trust is something that's built over a lifetime, but can be destroyed in an instant, and that's exactly what had happened. He kept pushing, saying that it's been long enough and that I needed to let go of the past for the sake of the family. A few days later, I got a call from Sarah. She said she wanted to apologize too, and that she hoped we could all move forward. She said that she understands why I'm hurt, but that she doesn't want her child growing up in a divided family. She even suggested that we go to family therapy to work through our issues. I told her I'd think about it, but honestly, the thought of sitting in a room with both of them makes me sick. Things got even more complicated when my parents started pressuring me to reconcile. My mom called me crying, saying she just wants her family back together and that she's worried about the impact all this stress is having on my dad's health. They keep saying that life is too short to hold grudges and that we should focus on being there for each other, especially with a new baby on the way. My mom keeps telling me that the baby is innocent in all this and doesn't deserve to grow up with family tension. She asked me if I could find it in my heart to forgive and forget for the sake of the baby. Here's the thing, that I'm not a bitter person. I understand that people make mistakes, and I don't want to carry this anger around forever. But at the same time, what Matt and Sarah did wasn't just a small mistake. It was a massive betrayal. They both knew exactly what they were doing, and they chose to do it anyway. Now, they want me to just let go because it's inconvenient for them. It doesn't sit right with me. I've tried dating again, but it's been hard to trust anyone after what happened. Every time I start to get close to someone, I find myself pulling back because I'm afraid of being hurt again. It's like I have this scar that won't heal. Every time I think about Matt and Sarah, it just gets ripped open all over again. My friends are divided on the issue. Some of them think I'm justified in cutting them out of my life, saying that what they did was unforgivable. Others think I should try to make peace for the sake of my parents and the new baby. They keep saying that holding on to anger will only hurt me in the long run and that I should try to find a way to move on. Recently, Matt and Sarah held a small family gathering to celebrate the upcoming birth, and my parents begged me to attend. They said it would mean the world to them and that it could be a first step towards healing. I reluctantly agreed to go, but the whole experience was incredibly uncomfortable. Seeing them together, Sarah's belly growing with my brother's child, just felt like a twisted reminder of everything I lost. And yet they acted like everything was fine, like we could all just pretend nothing had ever happened. During the gathering, Matt pulled me aside and once again asked if we could put the past behind us. He said he knows he messed up but doesn't want his child to grow up without knowing their uncle. I told him it wasn't that simple and that he couldn't just erase the hurt he caused. He looked frustrated and said that I was being stubborn, that I needed to grow up and realize that people make mistakes. That's when I lost it. I told him that this wasn't just a mistake. It was a conscious decision to betray me. And he didn't get to dictate how I should feel or when I should get over it. I said that if he really wanted to make things right, he wouldn't be pressuring me to move on for the sake of convenience. He stormed off, and I left the party shortly after. Since then, my parents have been even more insistent that I reconcile. They've started to guilt-trip me, saying that I'm being selfish and immature for not considering the impact on the family. They keep saying that if I don't find a way to make peace, the family will be forever divided, and it will be my fault. My mom has been calling me almost every day, crying and begging me to forgive them, saying that she can't handle the stress and that it's tearing her apart. I'm at a crossroads. On one hand, I don't want to be the cause of my family's pain. I don't want to be the reason my parents are stressed and upset, and I don't want my niece or nephew to grow up in a divided family. But on the other hand, I don't feel like I should have to forgive and forget just because it's inconvenient for them to deal with the consequences of their actions. I've been thinking a lot about what it means to forgive and whether I'm even capable of it in this situation. I've always believed that forgiveness is about letting go of anger and resentment, but I don't know if I'm ready, or if I'll ever be ready, to do that with Matt and Sarah. I feel like forgiving them would mean saying that what they did was okay, and it wasn't. It was a betrayal of the highest order, and it hurt me more than I can even put into words. I don't know if I'm being petty or if my feelings are justified. Am I holding on to this grudge because I'm too stubborn to let go, or because what they did was truly unforgivable? I keep going back and forth, and I'm not sure what to do. Am I the a-hole for refusing to reconcile with my brother and his wife after what they did, even though they're now expecting a child and asking me to let go of the past for the sake of the family? Op's feelings are completely valid. What Op's brother and Sarah did was a massive betrayal, and Op has every right to feel hurt and to take his time processing that hurt. Just because they're now expecting a child doesn't erase what they did to Op. Reconciliation should be on Op's terms, not because they're pressuring Op to make things easier for them. If Op is not ready, then he's not ready, and that's okay. Now let's hear the community's opinion. Everyone sucks here. I think everyone in this situation is hurting, and that's understandable. Your brother and Sarah definitely crossed the line, and they should have known better. But at the same time, holding on to this grudge is only going to cause more pain for everyone involved, including your parents and the new baby. Maybe consider therapy, even if it's just for yourself, to help you process your feelings. It doesn't mean you have to forgive them right away, but it might help you find some peace. You're the a-hole. I understand why you're hurt, but life is too short to hold on to anger and resentment. Your brother has apologized, and it sounds like he genuinely wants to make things right. Sometimes people make mistakes, even big ones, and they deserve a chance to make amends. Holding on to this grudge is only going to hurt you in the long run. Maybe give him a chance to show you he's changed and that he's truly sorry. Not the a-hole. Your brother and Sarah made a choice, and now they have to live with the consequences. It's not fair for them to expect you to just move on because it's convenient for them. Betrayal like this cuts deep, and healing takes time. You don't owe them forgiveness, and you certainly don't owe them a relationship just because they're having a baby. Focus on your own healing, and don't let anyone pressure you into doing something you're not ready for. When my husband was 10, his mom found out his dad had another son, 13 at the time, and multiple mistresses. When they divorced, his dad tried to bribe him to say he wanted to live with him. His dad ended up disowning him when he refused and went on to marry the mother of his other son. I'll refer to him as Josh from now on. When my husband was 15, his mom got sick and died shortly after. His father refused to take him, so he ended up living with his maternal grandmother. To say my husband hates his dad would be an understatement. My father-in-law was incredibly wealthy, so my late mother-in-law got a huge divorce settlement, which my husband was the sole beneficiary of. When she passed 2 months ago, Josh got into contact with my husband and begged him to help save their family home. My husband's grandfather built it for his wife, and my husband has told me about it multiple times. He loved that house, and he used to tell me if he got the chance to buy it, he would in a heartbeat. My husband agreed to help Josh, and I both assumed this meant that my husband would legally own the house, but he would let Josh and his family, including his dad, continue to live there. Turns out my husband is just letting Josh believe this is what's happening, so he doesn't sell it to the highest bidder. I found this out yesterday and tried to tell him what he was doing was cruel, especially since Josh has 2 young children, but my husband is refusing to see reason. I know he wants to hurt his dad, but I don't think this is going to give him the satisfaction he thinks it will. He still has a relationship with his paternal aunts, uncles, and cousins, and I'm also worried this might ruin those relationships for him. Josh has also reached out to my husband multiple times in the past to try and forge a relationship with him. I feel like this is going to kill any chances of them ever having one. I just don't want him to make a mistake, but he's refusing to listen to me. A part of me wants to warn Josh, but I know that'll kill my marriage. My only chance is to convince him not to do this, but I'm not sure how. Please help. I guess my question to you is, why does Josh deserve to live in the home for free? Josh may not be able to afford to buy it himself, but why on earth would he ask your husband to buy the house and let him live there? How do you have 2 or 3 adults living in a house that is presumably paid off but desperately financially poor, so they need someone to bail them out and save the house? Where's Josh's mom in all this? Your husband was disowned and disavowed by his living parent, even after losing his mother. Now they all want him to play happy families. Your husband wants the house, it's for sale, and he wants to buy it and keep it in the family. Why on earth would Josh, his kids, and your husband's dad think they would be able to continue to live in the house, knowing what all went down? Why would you think this is reasonable? They sell the house, and presumably someone tells them, we take possession on the 31st. Have everyone out of there. That's all that's owed. Here's a little background. My parents got divorced roughly a year ago. They were married for 20 years and had a pretty unhappy marriage throughout. It was even hard to think of them as a couple for all those years. However, they never had the courage to end their relationship. I don't know the reason. I've been pushing for their divorce since I was 16, not in bad terms, but good ones. Well, that didn't happen after their last big fight. My mom finally had enough, and the same goes for my dad. They ended the relationship. We don't have a good relationship with our dad, no contact because he wanted it that way. My sister graduated and found herself a nice job, in which she's earning decent money and can live the life she wants. The same goes for my mom. Both of them love to dress up, go out, and have a good time at parties. My dad was the complete opposite, and that's most likely one of the reasons why their relationship didn't go well in that regard. I'm quite similar to him, don't get me wrong. I go out with friends and have fun, but I love it much more to hit the gym and do other sports after college or work. I'm definitely someone that likes to be alone. Enough background. I'll cut to the case. Roughly 2 years ago, my sister got together with her boyfriend. They seemed to be happy with each other, going on vacations and all, but at the same time, the relationship between my mom and sis became so bad that they couldn't look each other in the face. They had countless fights that escalated to a point where I had to step in before they seriously hurt each other. Like for real, one time my sis went crazy and chucked a big old cup of coffee on my mom when I was in the way, of course, and a moment later I thought my right arm would melt off. 5 months ago, my sister and her boyfriend stopped dating. Apparently, there was a big discussion, and both never wanted to see the other again. I never got the details. Suddenly, 2 months ago, my sister called me when I was at work and told me that my mom went completely crazy and is currently dating her ex. When I confronted my mom about it, she told me that she's free to date whoever she wants and that she's in love with him. Since then, my sister is mentally unstable. I'm seriously worried about her condition in the past years. I've been working part-time since I was 16 and managed to save up a good amount. I offered her to meet a professional, and I will pay for it, but she doesn't want to for whatever reason. Currently, I'm living with a good friend of mine whose parents left the country for a couple of months. They're extremely rich and often just go on vacations for like 2 or 3 months. He's letting me live at his place, and he doesn't want me to pay rent as long as our problems are not solved yet. As for that guy, whenever he tried to approach my sister or talk with her, she told me to keep him off, which I did. I told him that he has to deal with me as long as my sis doesn't want to have any contact. He has done so far. Seriously. Guys, what can I do? Both of them are responsible for their relationship to be destroyed like that. And I've tried to talk to both of them, but they're both so stubborn. Wow. Firstly, your mom is an a-hole who has lost her damn mind. I can see why your sister is losing her damn mind while dealing with a mother who is in love with her ex. That's just gross. Secondly, why does the ex even want to talk to your sister? Obviously, there is nothing he can say that would improve your sister's perspective on the situation, so he should definitely back off. Good for you to put yourself between them. You're a good brother. As for what to do next, there's not much you can do here that you haven't thought of already. Just continue supporting your sister and gently recommending therapy or professional help. Your mom is not open to hearing your or her perspective on this, but it may not hurt to get other family members like your maternal grandmother or a maternal aunt or uncle to help you mediate or, frankly, knock some sense into your mother. If it was me, I would be actively trying to sabotage my mother's relationship with my sister's ex. Though it's certainly not the most mature approach, this ex clearly is not a good person who dates their ex's mom and thinks that will go over well. He needs to be out of both of their lives before he does irreparable damage to their relationship. I was 17 and my sister was only 12 when our mother kicked us out. Mom always cared more about her men than her kids. Her boyfriend at the time had a court order that he wasn't allowed to live in a house with children that weren't his. So sis and I had to pack our bags and shuffle between our relatives until I became old enough to start the process to be her guardian. Now my sister is 18 and I'm 23. We're both freshmen at the same college. I had a way to go so that I could work and support us. Sometimes it got really crazy trying to keep everything together. My sister is smarter than me, our mom, and the rest of our family combined, and Kinder too. She deserves the world. But before last year, all I was ever able to give her was the bare necessities. And even through all of that, she managed to get the second highest grades in all of her high school class. Bless her. Over the last couple of years, I actually managed to build a nice-sized online following. Last year was when it really took off, and now I'm able to very comfortably take care of us and our dogs through Patreon, small sponsorships, ad revenue, merch, etc. We live in a 2-story house on campus, and we share a nice car. We aren't rich, we're comfortable. But compared to our mom, we're millionaires. Our darling mother got in a darling while back, but supposedly now she's clean. She really hadn't been talking to either of us until she lost her job in November. Then she messaged sis because she knows she's blocked on my phone. Now she needs money. Now she needs love. It's the holidays. I'm a heartless son. She's homeless. She's hungry. She needs this. She needs that, blah, blah, blah. Sis came into my room crying over the sob story mom gave her. I genuinely don't care. I mean, I really do care that my sister is upset by all this. It's honestly making me pretty mad at her mom for pulling this crap during finals. What I don't care about is whatever my mom is trying to sell her. My sister wants to help her. I do not. But maybe that's the crappy half of me. That is our mother talking. I don't know. I would have a very honest conversation with your sister, where you point out that your history with your mother played out differently than hers did, because you had to be the one responsible for both of you. And while you would do it again in a heartbeat because you love her and want her to have a great life, it made your life a lot harder than it ever should have been. So, if your sister wants to get a job and help out your mom, she is an adult, and that is her choice to make. But you need her to respect that you choose to not have anything to do with your mother, personally or financially, and you really never want to hear about your mother again. A little background. My mom got pregnant with me when she was 17 with a random guy, and then got pregnant with my sister with another random guy. She came from a humble background, and we were staying with our grandma as my mom worked a minimum wage job just to feed us. When I was 9, my mom met a rich guy who came from a rich family. They dated for 1 year before the guy asked my grandma for her daughter to marry. They held one big dowry where they brought cows, sheep, goats, and money as part of traditions in my country. Their family was delighted to meet us and started saying how they couldn't wait for us to be one big family. Little did we know that after the wedding, just 2 months later, the family would reject us. It all started after my mom told us to stay at my grandma's for a while, and she would come to get us after the honeymoon. Then followed a lot of excuses why she wouldn't come to get us before the calls reduced, and later she only talked to us maybe 5 times a year. Eventually, she completely cut all contact, and we never saw or heard from her again. They moved to the UK and had 2 kids with him. So basically, she decided to abandon her kids for money and a luxurious life. We struggled for 9 years, right from abandonment, my grandma's death, abusive relatives, being homeless, doing drugs, and committing a few crimes for money, until a church clergy from my grandma's church and a good friend of my grandma found us and took us in. We were a part of the church's charity program to help the homeless, and we went back to school. Anyway, 3 years ago, my sister got a sponsorship to join a university in Canada after she won a local academic competition in my country. My sister insisted I go with her and convinced the church and the bank that funded the competition for me to join her, as I was her only family and I took care of her when nobody else would. We only had each other. We moved to Vancouver, Canada. My sister is still in college, doing her master's. I graduated last year and got a job, a car, and an apartment where we both live together. Back to the main story, recently my mom reached out to me on Facebook. She sent a friend request before she messaged me to ask how we were doing. I also found out she has been following me on Instagram. I didn't respond. She then went ahead and sent me a long text apologizing and asking me to forgive her and just respond to her. I still haven't responded, but she has been sending more and more texts. Her last message was that she was coming to Canada for a vacation by the beginning of November and was wondering if we could meet up. The reason I'm ignoring her is that I don't want to insult or call her names or say bad things to her, but I just don't know how to handle the situation. My sister also doesn't want to talk to her. Vacation in Canada during a pandemic? Yeah, right. Probably code for my husband is trading me for a newer model, and as I am about to be discarded, I am looking for alternative sources to leech off. That's maybe a stretch, but I wouldn't risk it. I met my fiancé when I was at a very low point in my life. We instantly clicked and had a whirlwind romance. I proposed after 3 months, and we are now engaged. I feel like my family has never approved of her or particularly liked her. They are all very educated and work professional jobs, while she is a college dropout who works as a hostess. She is starting a venture of her own, and I am funding it for her. The problem started with my sister-in-law and my brother. They told me that 3 months was too quick and that I should date her for longer. They have also implied that she is a gold digger. They never used the term, but they said this because she doesn't financially contribute. My fiancé isn't particularly fond of my sister-in-law. The sister-in-law is very rich and successful, and my fiancé thinks she is snobbish. The problem escalated when there was a family wedding, and my fiancé wasn't invited. She is of a different race, so she accused my family of being racist and said this to my parents' face. My parents never expressed an opinion about her, but that was their ticking point. My sister-in-law and brother added to this and told them about my financial contributions to her ventures and other details about her relationship. My parents said that I am making the wrong decision. I told my fiancée this, and she lashed out. She messaged my sister-in-law and told her that she is a horrible person for trying to wreck our relationship. My sister-in-law once again communicated this to my parents, and they have refused to pay for and attend the wedding. My fiancée says that her family will accept me with open arms, and that we can get married in City Hall. She accused my parents of being a legalist and said that they only like my sister-in-law because she's educated and of the same race. I love my fiancée, but I feel like she's trying to manipulate me into cutting all ties. I don't know what to do, and I don't want to reach a point of no return with my family. Any advice will be appreciated. 3 months, and you're funding a business startup for her and engaged? Holy crap, that's fast track. What's the rush? Without knowing any other details, I'm on your parents' side with this one. 3 months is a blink of an eye, and her messaging your sister-in-law like that is a huge red flag as well. You haven't even met her family, and she's asking you to cut yours off. Dude, well, we broke up. A lot of the comments echoed what my family was saying, but the outside perspective drilled it into my head. I have a good relationship with my parents, and my sister-in-law is actually one of my best friends. Just to clarify from the previous post, I never thought they were racist or snobbish. It was an idea my ex was forcing into my head. The breakup was very messy. I told her that I thought we were going too fast and that it wasn't working out, and she began crying and implied that she would kill herself. I could see the manipulation clearly for the first time, and I just told her that it is above my pay grade, and she should seek professional help for this. Now, for all the money I invested in her business, well, it was a mistake, and I'm just considering it a sunk cost. It did hurt my pockets, but recovering it will just tangle more webs. Thank you so much for all the advice. It helped me avoid a grave mistake.